On this week's Bet the Process podcast, which is sponsored by Novig, and there is $100 purchase match on Novig if you use the promo code BTP. So go check out Novig. We actually talk a lot about prediction markets, of which Novig is the best sports prediction market out there. We do talk a little bit about its competitor because of the pervasiveness of that competitor and the aggressiveness and the fact that that competitor has a lot of recreational float, which you will understand what that means. We talked to Golden Pants, who is someone that Rufus has got to know on Twitter and is a quite interesting story of becoming a professional sports bettor. And Rufus actually gives a couple more college football bets, trying to be continue the bet the process college football heater. So with that, let's start the process. Welcome to another episode of the Bet the Process podcast, where Rufus is agitated because he's got to get to a flight to go to Europe, and he's listed all the things that he doesn't know what he's going to do on this trip. So, why are you going to England first? I don't understand. If you're going to
Well, I'm
eventually
going
end
to
up,
Italy, not England.
okay, where in
Uh,
Italy are you going? What's in
Puglia.
Italy? What's that? Puglia?
Yeah.
Why are you going to Puglia?
Uh, for a wedding, friend's wedding.
Is that whose wedding?
It is the sister of the mother to my goddaughter, but the sister
Sister,
of a good friend of mine.
mother of your God.
And
Okay.
I've traveled extensively with the family, and
Have you seen
we were all in
Spaceballs?
Cambodia together in Cuba,
Have you seen
um,
Spaceballs?
a long, long time ago.
There's that great line where he's like, "You are your fathers, I am your fathers," blah blah blah, and he's like, "What does that make us?" And he's like, "Absolutely nothing." So that was what just you just thought
Okay.
about. Rick Moranis, great
Yeah,
line.
yeah. So
Dark
I'm a
helmet.
ball of stress right now though, Jeff, because I have I haven't been sleeping well the last month or two and just been more stressed. And I don't know if it's the lack of sleep is causing the stress or the stress is causing the lack of sleep. Um,
What have you been stressed about, Rufus?
I don't know. That's
Tell
the thing. I
me.
haven't
Remember,
really,
there's 7 people listening, so
yeah. No, the thing is, there's no real good reason.
although
I mean,
maybe fewer now that we're
right
talking
now,
about your personal life.
the stress, it's not anxiety. It's just inability to relax, I guess. And
You're doing well betting.
yeah,
From what I can tell, your
but it
romantic
feels like
life
there's
is
just a
going
lot going
well.
on.
Like,
Um,
I don't know what you're agitated about.
it's like what GP said on in our discussion with him about how there's just there's just so much to do all the time right now with all these opportunities. So I think that's part of it.
So
But
prediction markets got you
also for me,
stressed.
I'm leaving. I have a friend that's going to be staying in my apartment for 10 days while I'm gone. So I want it to not be a total mess. Um, and then I don't know. I have a flight back. But I have a flight. Well, I'm I'm going with my ex fiance is my plus one. So that's a interesting
Oh,
thing.
interesting. She's
Um,
going to the wedding?
she's going to the wedding with me.
Is
Yeah,
she flying with you?
she is.
Yeah, interesting.
Um,
Does she listen to this podcast?
she used to. We'll find out if she does. Anyhow, then I don't know where I'm going after because I have our good friend Saramek's wedding in Bali at the end of October, and so I have to figure out. I now have to pack for 3.5 weeks where with two weddings that are in very different climates, and that's and not knowing where I'm going in between. So I'll go to Dubai. Maybe I'll go just hang at Italy for a while. Maybe I'll just go to Bali early. I don't know.
Can you what was I going to say? It's not important. If oh, I was going to say if you end up getting married, because I feel like a lot of our listeners have been on the journey of your love life, and I feel
A
like if you get married, we should let a listener come to the wedding. Just a random listener come to the
random
wedding.
listener
Well, it'd be like a contest, or maybe it'd be like a punishment. I don't know which,
sounds more
but
like a punishment.
it could be something.
We'll just entice them. Jeff, you can make some sort of scavenger hunt to entice people to Kentucky wedding.
Okay. How was your college? We should do a little college, a little trip through college. I actually won NFL betting last week, which is
It's
probably
amazing. It was the first week I did that too.
it's probably just the, a broken
Yeah.
clock is right twice a month, twice a day.
I liked the Broncos winning outright was big. I had a big call sheet position there on the money.
I also had the Broncos and the Broncos money
And
line.
Novig, actually. I think I had a better price at Novig.
Why did you like that? Did you like that because of Judah and your
No. I
numbers?
thought I just liked it off of there was just value off of the point spread. This was just very top downy stuff.
Got it. Value off of the point spread on Kalshi or on Novig? I'm confused.
No, it was a derivative.
Oh, got it. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Um, but otherwise, it was one of these interesting weeks, like where we lost overall on our college, on the non exchange stuff, but and we, I laid $96,000 on Penn State to beat UCLA outright at like 94 cents or something, right? They lost. Yet we still we did very, very well on Kalshi, for example. And so it ended up making it a very solid week. And we hit Bobby Mack outright in the Euro event.
Oh, I didn't
It was
even know there was
shortened to,
golf going on. I
yeah, it was the
barely.
Alfred Dunhill Links Championship, but it was shortened to 54 holes because of weather. And, he was coming fresh off that high from the Ryder Cup,
Yeah.
carried it over.
He was very fiery at the Ryder Cup. Did you
And,
think?
and he was playing back in Scotland,
Yeah, which is where he's from.
where he's from. And
Um,
it's where my sister, her husband, and my dad are right now. But they
nice.
did not go to the tournament. But if
Nice.
they did, I would have told them to cheer for Bobby Mack. I would have said the guy that looks like a ghost, very pale.
Okay. College? Any
Yeah.
college? Are you down on
How
college
did
now?
the college plays do last week that we
I
gave
think
out?
they were 2-0. You
Okay.
had West Virginia, who had a wonderful backdoor cover, probably
Oh,
one of the
and
best.
well, and then Pitt, that was I think it was Pitt, wasn't it?
No,
I
Pitt. Yeah,
definitely
Pitt
gave
was
out
the
Pitt.
other one you won.
And
Pitt
didn't
was
they
like
win by
yeah,
a
Pitt
million?
was
They won by 40 points.
a million is probably an overstatement, but they did win by a lot.
And do we remember, were they a favorite or an underdog, Jeff?
They were a 6 point favorite
Okay.
that went up to 6.5. Not that I betted or anything. Not
So
that I
yeah, that was a nice easy cover.
front run.
Check
Yeah,
it.
you were 2-0. I think you're
Okay.
now
Okay.
two up, 2-0. I think you were 500 before that, maybe.
Maybe. So we need
Um,
to play for this week.
you do. You need to play for this week.
Okay. I'll give you the big marquee game play here is going to be that I like Michigan. And let's checking what the numbers are now. I believe it's somewhere 2.5 to 3, plus 2.5 plus 3. They're at USC. Should be an interesting game. Kind of a gut check game for USC.
And you just don't like USC because you were against USC in the Illinois game also. The Illinois game.
Maybe that's it.
You don't
I'm
you
sure that's
don't
part
like
of it.
you don't like SC. Anything else?
Actually, no. You know what? Well, yeah, I'm gonna give two big games, basically marquee games. And this is the Indiana team. I'm a big fan of Indiana, and I think 7.5 points is too much here. I'm taking Indiana plus 7.5 at Oregon in the game of the week. That's definitely the biggest game of the week. Who would
Love
have
it.
thought?
Give they want. There's two big Big Ten picks from Rufus. Are these your Big Ten locks of the week? Steel pipe locks of the week? Rufus Peabody?
Boom. Yeah, you get your money back if they don't win.
Oh, they didn't pay anything though.
Ah ha ha ha.
Okay, well, let's welcome in Mr. Golden Pants. We talk a lot about prediction markets and how he got into sports betting, etc. And then we'll talk to you guys all again next week. Although Rufus will be traveling, so who knows? Well, he'll be like
I'll
points
bring a
unknown.
microphone with me.
I'll
We'll be
believe it.
good to go.
I'll believe it when I see it.
I'll bring this one right here.
All right,
It
I'll
doesn't
believe it
take
when
up
I
too
see it.
much room. Hopefully, yeah.
You just hold it like that the whole time, so it doesn't take up that much room.
That's what I've been doing. It actually is kind of nicer because I can lean back and still talk. you know?
All right, let's welcome in Golden Pants.
Bet, bet, bet the
We
price.
now welcome in Golden Pants to the Bet the Process podcast. Your name is John, but I'm going to call you Mr. Pants. But you said that's your father's name,
That's
which
right.
which
Yeah.
was a witty retort. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the world of sports betting,
Sure. Yeah.
and
I
why
mean,
how you got the last name Pants. That's actually more important.
yeah, it's like back in the day, you know how like everybody got named for their job. I just assumed like my family got where they were pants makers or something. And that led us here today. Um,
This stick might be done.
okay.
That
I'll
wasn't bad though. I gotta say.
okay, we'll take
Creativity.
it. I mean, you guys are one of the funnier betting podcasts, so I had to come in with um couple jokes. But
That's
yeah,
like world's tallest midget shit. So, anyways,
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, look, you gotta stand out somehow. So, but thanks for having me on. I will say I've listened to this podcast since I started sports betting, so it is cool to be on, and I learned a lot, specifically from Rufus,
definitely
golf
nothing for
betting.
me. Nothing for me.
Well, before I even found this podcast, I found Bringing Down the House. So really, like that was more of an intro to betting. But I can talk about like my start in betting. So it really just I was like one of the online poker boom kids. So right when like Full Tilt and Poker Stars were huge in the US, I was I had turned 18. I had been like semi interested in poker before then, but I actually like got hurt and I couldn't like play sports for half a year. So I just started like playing free roll online poker on Full Tilt and Stars. And I just started reading like all these great books, like David Sklansky's books, Doyle Brunson, like all of those books. And I got like more interested in the books than I was like the actual gambling of it, which I think was like a good start. And it kind of grew from there. So I started playing um, poker seriously. By the time I was 19, I was playing like pretty high stakes like online tournaments, but at the same time I was like going to college and yeah, Poker Stars and Full Tilt got shut down by the DOJ my freshman like the end of my freshman year of college, and I had decided to stay in. A lot of my friends moved to Canada, so but that was poker was really the intro to betting for me.
Then how did you like what when you started betting, what was the process that got you to believe that you could be plus EV?
Like in sports.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sports was that was like a so I went to a trading firm after college and played a little poker, but uh my backer from poker when I was playing, he had started betting sports, and a lot of it was just like you're really like basic steam chasing, playing into PPHs, like getting stiff, trying to collect, like this whole, the whole song and dance. And he had asked me actually to, if I was interested in doing anything with golf, and I had found Mark Brody's work. I had, tinkered with building like some baseball and models in Excel. I tinkered with building some golf models, and eventually, like, I built what would be like my first golf model for my friend, and we just started betting it maybe 5 years ago or something around that. And it was like right when I had was kind of like not fully sold on the future of poker, and I think like that was probably a good choice. Um, and it did seem like sports betting was gaining some momentum. There was like a bigger opportunity there, so I had I had just basically like learned from the same guy I learned poker from. He started betting sports, and he taught me a lot about like why, if your numbers, like if you're showing like a 15% edge against Chris, like we're not betting that, like go back and fix that, and et cetera, et cetera. And I learned a lot of like the ins and outs of like how not to get killed betting a model. And the model like wasn't that good, but with like his help, I kind of understood how not to like how to get the most out of it, basically. And yeah, we did okay. We did okay. But then I went to business school, kind of forgot about it. PASPA repeal, PASPA was repealed when I was in business school, and that was kind of just like an all-in moment for me. I basically started working with another one of my friends who was a trader, and yeah, we started basically like dusted off some old ideas from the golf model, made it better. There's a lot of low hanging fruit back then too, so we were doing some really brain dead stuff that was like correlated parlays and stuff that was making good money. But yeah, we basically just threw I think we threw like 75 grand each into a shared bankroll and kind of spun it up, from there. Now we do this full time.
Nice. Do you think, are there any, I guess diving right into like parallels between then and now, do you think there are any parallels between PASPA being repealed and sort of where we are in the prediction markets right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. Kind of, yeah, I think so. Like, doesn't it feel like you're just like, wow, this is such a great opportunity. I have to like not sleep and do everything I can each day to take advantage of this because like we've seen the money flow in with the PASPA repeal, and like you don't want to be the person sleeping on it now with the prediction market.
It certainly feels that way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But the question is, where does this end up long term, and how much, like, how do you balance going after opportunities now versus like that may not necessarily be there long term, just get while the getting's good, versus like trying to build something that will bear fruit down the line?
Yeah, I feel like that's like one of the hardest parts about doing this. Like, I was thinking because I assumed we'll talk about golf a little bit, but like golf and we've eventually built up like getting the shot data, having having a golf model that's been built up over all these years, and it's kind of my favorite thing to do is to work and think about the golf model, but it always feels now that it's like the second thing. And the first thing's always something else. And I think sometimes, you just have to do the thing that makes you a lot of money. I think if you're in a different financial situation where like if you can retire or you're not as money driven, it's certainly like more of a question. But I think now, like, I don't know, there's always this anxiety and like with any edge, with any betting game, I've seen poker come and go. I've seen even within poker, like I've seen no limit kind of get, no limit cash get solved. I've seen sit and goes die out. I've seen heads up, basically dry up. I've seen PLO come and be great and then be shit. And then I've, seen it with DFS and with the prize picks and underdog and, to a lesser extent sports. But it just feels like I just always have this anxiety, like I just need to get this opportunity now. So I think I don't do as much like R&D as I would want still. But sometimes I like to take a break and like work on the stuff that's a bit more long term. I don't know. Like, how do you balance that? I find it very hard.
No, I think it is very hard. It's like it's I think I agree that for me, golf almost feels like the second thing too, just because I think I've already built it, and so it kind of can run pretty seamlessly, like uh, without a lot of me having to be at the controls. But I mean, right now it feels to me like prediction markets, like there is so much low hanging fruit right now. I mean, there are there's just a lot of free money to pick up, and but at the same time, like I do think it's kind of a bubble.
Yeah.
And I know that like there right now there's just a dearth of market makers, so I think that creates a lot of opportunities, but I don't that won't always be the case. And so I think it's more of a like the competition, like you could just manually make a lot of money now, but at the same time that's not growing towards competing against more bots, and like I think in a way the time is better spent building out infrastructure to do this at scale. But I liked
Yeah.
what you said back on your podcast with Shipper, or
Mhm.
maybe I should say what he said about how like originating like when I got into this business, like, or when we got into this business, nobody got in it to be like, oh yeah, I'm just going to click buttons faster than somebody else. That's what I'm passionate about, right? It's about like solving interesting problems and like being creative, and so I think that's, believe it or not, though, I think that the challenge of prediction markets like has kind of stimulated that creativity, and there is a lot, like maybe not where it is right now, where I mean, for example, Kalshi, I mean, you and me have talked about this a little bit, but like being a good market maker on Kalshi is mostly being first because the
Yeah,
tick sizes are so wide. But that's not always going to be the case. And that's not what it's like on Novig. That's not what it's going to be like on Polymarket. There's more, there's certain, there, it's this like really, really neat game.
absolutely. I think like I've had a lot of fun. So yeah, I mean, we've been working on like automating uh trading, basically like market making and whatnot. And my like the two now I have two like main partners, and one of them's like a ex jump trading quant and came over like before prediction markets were a thing, and then we were kind of just like positioned nicely to switch in. But we've spent a lot of time like thinking about market making logic, and there's always these trade-offs. You're like, well, like we're not getting filled, so like should we quote more aggressively? Well, if we quote more aggressively, like then our fill is good. Can you be second do you have to be top of the order book? Like sometimes you can be the second level of the order book and get a market order. There's like all these like trade-offs and interesting things where you like tweak the logic, and then oh, something else happens and you're like, well, which is better, and you're not exactly sure. It does feel like you're figuring out and just like building and using your brain a lot with this new type of problem. I agree. It's very fun.
What's maybe the biggest thing you've learned so far in market making?
Um, well, I think like one important thing is I would say like posting passive liquidity is broadly like two strategies. So one is you have an opinion and you're trying to collect a position passively, whether to not move the market or pay a lower amount in fees or whatnot. Like let's say you're like really opinionated on a college football game, and I'm sure you've seen this. Like if you like make a market and post each team no like a price for like each team no, so you want people to come hit the yes, and that's another thing is like you're broadly you just want to be posting the no, like
You know,
that's
this is what like, I mean, actually, it was Flup that told me this, but
yeah
and I think that's generally speaking true. But recently, I've had positions that got filled more. Like
yeah
if I posted the yes, like so somehow I was filled with the no more because there's going to be, at least on call sheet, there's going to be less. You know, there's less money ahead of you in the queue typically there,
yeah
but I think it's when you're getting people that are coming directly onto call sheet versus coming from Robinhood, or like I think that it's there isn't that same bias necessarily.
yeah that is a good point. And you also get filled on the if you have like if you're posting a yes on like people market ordering like closed position, because that's like a mechanic within the call sheet app, right?
Ah, that's a really good. Yeah, that's. I hate that. Like, I don't actually ever mess with that sell button
Yeah,
because it confuses me too much.
sometimes you just have to
I
get
just
into the
trade the
Robinhood
no.
app or the and just see what it's like for the people trading against you,
Smart
you
move.
know? But yeah, I'd say like so yeah, no, that's a good point on the yes. And I think there's posting yes is actually something like we've started doing more, because you'll just get these like miracle yes fills and you're
Well, why
like
don't you just post both? That's what I do.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
why would you not?
I
Because it's
right. Well, I think there's like latency situations with having a lot of orders. Like I'm
be
not
able to
like
take them
trying.
down.
Yeah, like this is not like a chirp at call sheet. Like you'll be able to get like good rate limits and whatnot, but there is like a you're kind of solving a latency issue if you're posting a ton of markets, to cancel. Like you're canceling 2x the orders if you're posting yes. I mean, yeah,
Are you posting a ton of markets?
yeah, yeah,
So can I ask, are you doing this? I know you specialize in golf. Are you doing this? I know you're doing this in golf.
yes, yeah,
And
yeah.
are you doing this, collecting your betting the no at 98 cents on something that's a 70 to 1, right? Like,
Well,
That's
that's a good bond. Yeah,
I
that's
know
nice.
it's that's the 1 cent tick sizes for you. But are you are you posting for most other sports, and are you opinionated there, or are you kind of just going straight top down, posting both sides, and just hoping to get some hits?
Like a little of both. A little of both. I think like there's still, and that's kind of what I would think is like the key learning is like those both have very different strategies. Like I'm sure like if you get a fill, like you've posted golf on Call Sheet, right? And like let's say you get a fill, you're not really like too nervous about that fill. But if you get a big fill on like a top down market, like you're posting just using like other books prices, like you really have nothing to anchor to, and it's a little like disconcerting. So the game there is like more instead of it's basically just like trying to straddle the fair price or like what the market thinks the fair price is like really quickly and get both flow on both sides. And it'll always be a little like one side will always collect faster than the other, which is something to think about. But like, uh, yeah, at the same time, like you're just like trying to play that game of like, how do I balance this really quickly?
Interesting.
Um, Instead of like, hey, I'm happy to collect this and like hold the large position. Because basically what you're trying to do is never hold a position in something you're doing more top
That's what you're
down.
trying to do. You're trying
Oh,
to be okay.
depends on the market, basically. Like in golf, we'll hold a position for sure. And in like we do like I mean, one thing we bet is hockey. So like I'm happy to hold a position in hockey, but I'm not really happy to hold a position in anything that has to do with football.
So you want to
Like,
get filled on both sides. That's the
yeah,
goal.
right.
And how
And
often does that actually happen? I mean, because sports books talk about or theoretically wanting to
yes,
balance the action, right? But it's very rare that they actually are able to have games where they don't have much of an opinion.
right. It is very hard to balance. And that's why like one thing if you're trying to go on both sides, like what you should be doing is you should be trying to figure out like which is the easy fill and which is the hard fill, and then make sure you're posted at the hard fill. Like the hard fill meaning like it's a lot harder to get it. So like let's say like you had a game with a 2 cent spread, and you were on both sides, and you see one side that's constantly getting pinged, and the other side like someone's sometimes hopping you, sometimes not. Like the side that's actually kind of easy to get is the one where someone's hopping you, because then if they're hopping and pulling back, that no, if no one's hopping you on the other side, where like you're just kind of getting slow trickle fills, like no matter what, if you collect a big position on that side, you can immediately post a cent up and get the fill there, or you can keep your queue like two levels behind and maybe get a really good 2 cent fill. I'd say like just thinking like that instead of thinking like what's my opinion, even though I think what's my opinion is like a very valuable strategy on these exchanges too. But I think if you're getting into these are only good for markets that have a lot of rec flow. Like don't do this on something that's not on Robinhood, basically.
Yeah, it's so interesting to hear your approach here because I feel like my approach has been a little bit different. I'm sort of doing some top down based on my own data science stuff for certain things, but because it is like a derivative. Money lines are a derivative off of spreads, but I'm also doing a good amount of opinionated market. I mean, most of what I'm doing is opinionated with anchoring to my college football stuff. So
I think that's like the
so
best
I'm
thing
I'm
to
only
do.
really ever seeding a market one way. I'm trying to
Yeah, I
get
was gonna say, like,
a
do you
fill on
ever
one
get
particular side. And if the
yeah,
market moved a bunch, then I could put
right.
something up on the other side, but the threshold,
But does it ever move that much?
but this is where with Kalshi, you don't really need to like make it look like there's price resistance somewhere to the same
Mm.
extent that you would on, I don't know, uh, a platform where they're smaller tick sizes. Cause like I don't want to, I feel like at least in the big liquid markets, it's less of a game thing and more just like, okay, I'm in this queue. I'm like, for an NFL game, I might be, literally 2 millionth in the queue, 3 hours before the game, trying to fill like an underdog money line, basically. And, 30 minutes before the game, I'm like 700,000th in the queue. And I somehow like, you know, in the last 5 minutes, I jumped from like 400,000th to like getting like 100,000 orders filled. Right. It's like, it's just being patient and being there early enough and trying to figure out like, you know, it's not, you're not having to, there's no disguising anything there. You're just trying to like take a piece of this rec action coming in.
Absolutely.
In their 1 cent, you know, it's just the 1 cent market. So,
yeah, I was gonna say, I think people are gonna make. I think your approach is like the optimal approach. If you have it, if you have a model for something, like you having an opinion can only be helpful if it's a good opinion.
unless your opinion's wrong.
Well, exactly, exactly, and then it can really hurt because you can get a lot of money filled. Like this is like the sizing on like having an opinion on these exchanges and call sheets specifically. It's like crazy. I don't know. You bet, you know, bigger than we do, and you've been betting for longer. But like the ability to get six figures feels like it's never been easier on an opinion.
Yeah. And even honestly, so wait, back to the sort of top down approach though. Do you think there's any point where Kalshi will be the more efficient market? Because right now you're anchoring to other markets that you think are more efficient. But at some point, if there is a ton of volume coming in on Kalshi, of, you know, opinionated volume, and because if, you know, you are able to get big fills, although I guess you need lower taker fees for people to really be, for that to actually happen, true price discovery in that regard. But do you think at some point Kalshi will be like that, like the pinnacle, the Chris,
Yeah,
or Polymarket or Novig or any of these other exchanges?
I think so. Just because the incentives will eventually shift to just like being either if you're like a great bettor in one sport, wouldn't you just want to be like a passive taker on like call sheet or poly market if you're able to get that rec flow? Like I think it's probably the most optimal use of your information. So you probably wouldn't want to bet into any of those other spots, as long as the size you can get on call sheet is like so big. So yeah, I think certainly like where the money is going to be like where eventually it'll be the sharper prices.
Well, and also with the new tax law or
Yeah,
the, you know, sport trading, it's great. It's
exactly. It's trading.
most certainly not gambling.
No, not at all. Not at all. Sponsored by Novig. Are we sponsored by Novig?
We are.
We are
All right.
sponsored by Novig.
All right. Shout
Did
out.
you, can we, can we
John,
switch
do you use
gears?
Novig?
No, I mean, I apologize to Henry, who I've been chatting to about getting up. We're like looking eventually to do it like an automated way, and we talked to them. Yeah, but we've just been like all in on kind of building on call sheet right now because we're not. I don't know. We're not like big, like a big company, so it's like you almost want to just like, you know, make something work and then kind of keep it going. And I know I
You don't want to
interrupted
spread yourself too thin.
Exactly. Like there's a lot at stake, you know, in these prediction markets.
So can we switch gears? I saw you posting some stuff on G2E. Obviously, the gaming summit is happening right now.
Yeah.
What were some of the interesting things that came out of that this week? I know you felt bad because you recorded your pod before you had an ability to talk about this, but maybe you can talk about it here.
Well, yeah. So I mean, I wasn't there, but I was following like, you know, the tweets and whatnot. But I did see Jason Robbins basically like said the truth about the industry, which is like everybody's kind of going after the same recreational liquidity, whether they're DraftKings, an exchange, a sharp book. And I was like,
or
yeah,
you or me.
Or exactly, Rufus. I mean, now do we have as much of a moral high ground to stand on now that like a lot of our order flow comes directly from Robinhood? Like I can't really like sit here and throw stones at Jason Robbins, but I think like the difference is you want to like admit it, and I think he finally was just like, look, at this point, like this has gotten out of hand. Like we're just gonna tell the truth. Like our stock's down. Like we're just in a battle for these recreational customers, and it's exactly right. And I thought, you know what, I don't know. Like I've never, it's hard to give Jason Robbins props because I feel like he said so many things that are just like have frustrated me, but I think just finally kind of coming out and saying what the industry is, which I've always said in gambling, it's like finding soft counterparties is the cornerstone of like long. I mean, Jeff, how much when you were on the blackjack team was like scouting and finding the right games. And I have no, and finding a dealer that was like flashing a whole card and the good rules, like, as much as it is learning like how to count, I felt like I'm sure that your team made more money like finding the best
No, I mean that's
spots.
the thing that we always talk about with poker whenever we have someone on from a poker background is game selection is like the biggest advantage. And it's interesting because I had never thought about this aspect of, like the longevity of an industry where it's based on, kind of dumb people or people that just don't care about winning losing. It
Yeah.
seems like, I guess there's always going to be new people that roll through, but everyone's competing for them. So what does that even mean? So like, what was Robbins's conclusion on this? That like essentially there's just too many people in the market now competing for those same people, whether it's prediction markets, whether it's sharp bettors or whatever, and those people are drying up. Was that his take?
I think I think his take, I think, yeah, like his take was now the competition for these people is fiercer. I'm sure his goal is to get, like, if I had to speculate as his goal, it would be to get sports betting legalized in California and Texas because he's basically unable to um, compete for those customers in those huge markets where Kalshi can. That would be my guess as to like where he's going with that and why he's finally saying it. Because, I think the sports books are kind of in a bind where they don't want to lose their licenses. They don't want to get regulators mad at them, but they're watching Kalshi just come into California and offer sports betting and do millions of dollars in fees every Sunday. So it's kind of like frustrating for them, I'm sure. Not that I'm not like a sports book stan or whatever, but that's my read on why Robbins is like frustrated at this point and saying something like that.
Well, I mean, I would be frustrated if I were him too.
Yeah.
But zooming out, like, do you think that prediction markets are a fundamental threat to sports books? Do you think like once California and Texas have legalized online sports betting, what do prediction markets become?
That's a good question.
Like, are you a buy or a sell on like what DraftKings valuation right now, according to their stock, is $32.86, market cap of 16.3 billion. Polymarket just raised at 8 billion pre-money, I believe.
Yeah.
Is, I mean,
I don't know.
Who are you buying?
Yeah,
Who are you selling there?
that's I feel like that's a Jeff question, but
Well, the question is to both of you.
yeah. Uh, God, it's crazy, but like I may be buying Polymarket. I just think like I, yeah, I don't know. I may be buying Polymarket or a Kalshi or whatever. Not trying to pick any favorites, but uh, yeah, I just think like if you think about the companies that are now like backing them, you basically have all the big securities companies involved, and with that, like I decrease my like risk of regulatory ruin for them, and the upside does feel like quite a bit higher. But DraftKings would need to. I think DraftKings is a better experience for rec sports bettors, but I just think like I'm not sure how much extra stuff that the prediction markets are offering is actually valuable, and they're bringing in a different consumer, which is like the crypto Robinhood
Are
crowd.
they? Do you think that's the case, or do you think it's
Yes.
just people that are in California and
No,
Texas?
I think that they are bringing in like, I mean, have you seen these crypto people tweeting about
On
prediction
Twitter, yeah,
markets?
they're idiots.
Yeah, they're horrible.
They're like,
horrible.
this isn't betting. This is revolution. This is predicting.
Right.
This is
Right.
revolutionizing the world. Like,
They're finding
it's
the
like,
truth.
no, this is betting still.
It's an
You
API
can
for
call it
the
what you want to call it,
future.
but it's,
That's what I heard. It's an API for the future. Was my
you
favorite.
can also say betting is trading, but
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
either way,
people call it
it's
trading
predicting.
and whatever, but but what I'm saying is like there is like Polymarket specifically like is seemingly rooted in the crypto
Yeah.
community.
Well, I
And
mean, do you remember last election? There was such a discrepancy between the prices on Trump at Kalshi versus Polymarket. Like all my pro-Trump positions were on Kalshi, and all my pro-Kamala positions were on Polymarket. If it,
interesting,
well, yeah,
because basically the crypto crowd skews Trump.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense.
If I were able to trade on Polymarket, I mean,
Right, right. You advised a friend who
exactly.
was trading. Um, yeah, I don't
Can
know.
we talk about the crypto bros? So the crypto bros getting into sports betting, which
Wh- Oh,
the crypto bros have been in sports betting for a while, right? Because ultimately, like a lot
Yeah,
of sports bettors were crypto bros because they had to use crypto to settle.
yeah.
So that was like early, but now we have like its new wave of crypto bros coming in for prediction markets. And are they rec bettors or are they sharp?
Oh, they seem very, very wreck.
the
I
wreck.
mean, did you see that one thread like Shipper commented on that everybody found? It was like basically like if the favorite goes down a touchdown.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but it's like it's funny because it's literally like what like I said, it's like what your uncle would tell you at Thanksgiving, like his betting strategy.
These are the beginners.
Right.
But
Do you
wait, I
try
want
to
to
pick
go
off your
fundamentally
uncle when
though.
he does that at Thanksgiving? You're
No,
like,
I'm
I'll
very
take that.
I'm quite
Yeah.
nice because he beat well, yeah, my uncle like crushed me in basketball for so many years, like into his 60s that I would pick him off there for sure, just to prove a point.
By the way, I was at dinner last night, and the waitress said that I looked just like her uncle when he was younger, like how she remembered him when she was a kid. I wasn't sure how to
Interesting.
respond to that, and I looked like her brother.
Did you ask her if she
Uh,
was into incest? Sorry, that was a terrible
Yeah, that was
joke.
awful.
Sorry, that was
Wait,
terrible.
I wanted to ask though, like this is my whole issue with prediction markets is the fact that like you look at Betfair, you look at
yeah,
Matchbook, et cetera. I mean, you look at other jurisdictions where you had these exchanges and they've never been more than niche products and they haven't been super profitable. They've struggled to stay afloat. I know, I know you see that with Matchbook. I mean, I know that Betfair, at least from what I've heard, the sports book is the revenue driver, the profit driver there. And if you look at the experience on Betfair now, I mean, if you're a sharp better, you're paying the 20%. You're basically giving them a 20% free roll. You're paying your 20% expert fee, and which, by the way, is assessed basically relative to your high watermark. So if you went from like $0
it's
to
like Mecca.
$400,000 and then back to $0, you're paying 20% profit. You're paying 20% of your profit for those 400,000 for everything you lost after you were at the yeah, you have to get back to 400,000 just to have only paid 20% net. So it's like they're having trouble monetizing that clearly, and it just why is it going to be different in the United States? That's the thing that what I fundamentally want to understand, that nobody's really been able to convince me that somehow it's going to be different.
I think there's like there's like a popular there's I mean it's like the country with the most money, right, in the world. I think I don't know, maybe it's second, or I have no clue, but
It's a rich country.
there's a lot of money. There's a lot of um, you know, there's a love of sports and a lot of different sports leagues, right? So there's always something to gamble on. But yeah, I mean, Betfair is a good example, and I think that's the good counter. And then, but like the counter to that is, which is going to be the sad part if it happens, is like when Kalshi Sportsbook and Polymarket Sportsbook comes up, and like they're the ones taking the action, because why let us, Rufus, book these bets when they could book them?
Right. So then it's not, I mean, that's basically what everybody who's starting an
Yeah,
exchange has learned. The money comes from being the counterparty,
right,
not building the platform.
right.
And so
Just kidding. If Kalshi's listening to this, it's
yeah,
terrible.
please
booking
don't do
guys.
that.
Yeah.
But you have to be, but from what I understand with the CFTC regulations, Kalshi trading is not allowed to get any sort of benefits. They can't get a different structure, a different deal than other market makers, or at least there are some regulations there. It's, I don't know. I mean, I don't know where this goes exactly, but
Yeah. Well, that's why it feels like we got to make some money now, and then we'll see what happens, right? Like, uh,
yeah,
But yeah, I think like Kalshi, everyone The one thing I'll say about call sheet trading that irks me with how people are talking about it, they're like, yeah, call sheet trading, like it's so unfair. I promise you, call sheet trading is like seeding the worst markets, like the
Oh,
mentioned markets and all this, and they're just getting killed. Like
there's no way to win doing that.
yeah,
Like, but the deal is like if you're a market maker, I mean, you're basically that's why you need to incentivize market makers in these low
exactly.
liquidity markets.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. It's like market makers get rebates. Well, oh my god, like if
You
you're
need
trading,
it.
I need like a 300% rebate to trade a mention market, like on a YouTube video or whatever. Like, come on. So yeah, I don't think call sheet trading is like in it to make money right now, which they shouldn't be. But they're just like propping up these markets like mention markets, which people get them good press. And it's the same thing as like right sports books offering like futures markets at maybe like a good price, so they can be like so and so bet to win 10 million.
National anthem length, color of the
Yeah,
Gatorade.
yeah, that's that. Yeah, the color of the Gatorade is a perfect parallel for like the call sheet stuff because it's known right by somebody.
Yeah. I mean, is it really known
Oh,
when what words Al Michaels will say on his telecast, like or
by
on Monday
him,
Night Football? I don't think he knows ahead of.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, if he sees, well, actually, if it was Al Michaels, he would know because he would see that market and
exactly.
be all about it.
Exactly. And like the insider trading thing on Polymarket, I think is like still technically like legally okay. But on call sheet, like, it's definitely illegal. So I feel like there's
Wait,
so
is
many
it
crimes.
insider trading or market manipulation? Like, what? Yeah.
It would be like okay, let's say you're like in the South Park mention market and you are a writer on South Park and you see the final script and you bet it. That would be
That's
to my
illegal.
understanding, yeah. Well, that's illegal, and that's yeah, that's insider trading. Yeah,
Okay. That seems fair to me.
yeah. But like people have done that. I
Yeah.
don't. So I don't know. The first time somebody goes to jail for like manipulating a mention market will be a seminal point in the industry.
But like in finance, like I mean, what percent? Like I'm curious for both of you guys here. Like, what percentage of actual insider trading gets caught? Like,
None.
what's the over
Some
under there?
the
One
dumbest
percent?
part.
Half a percent?
I don't know, Jeff. What do you think? I'll let you answer first.
I mean, it depends. It depends what you mean by insider trading, right? Like because I mean, I think most corporations have pretty like strong policies on when you can trade, right? So ultimately, if you're someone really that has privileged information, the way that you would do it is you probably manipulate in someone else's, tell someone else, and they would. I mean, I would say, and maybe I'm naive. I mean, I've worked for two pretty big corporations and I've had privileged information at both of them. So I personally know that it never would seem worth it to me to even put that in jeopardy because of how serious the penalties are for it. So I would say it's done less than people would think. It's specifically like if you compare it to sports betting, right? Where there's clearly times that there's inside information that Rufus, you and I have had before, and so
We have? Wait.
Going to
Oh,
jail.
yeah. Which
yes,
sometimes,
Rufus, we have. Like, stop, don't be
and you know what's
naive.
funny is half the time it ends up not actually mattering or
That
being
is the
true.
funniest thing
That's
Well,
about
the
but
that's
sports.
that's but
that's the
that's the
thing. And so
reality.
I
But like
hate that.
we do have
I
there
don't.
is
I've
like you
gotten
talk
like
to some of the
inside
best sports
information.
bettors.
I've gotten
uh,
information tips like maybe once or twice a year.
No, I was talking to someone who is, a trader at one of the biggest sports, professional sports betting operations, and he was basically telling me like the only things that he thinks win consistently are information asymmetry. He's like not a huge believer in like some of the,
It doesn't like
models and
models.
originations and
Interesting.
whatnot. So he, at least the stuff that he ends up seeing. So,
Does he believe in gravity? It's like
uh,
no. I don't think it's real. I think we're just like
Well, it's like your guy who wanted to be your AI guy who thought he could beat you in golf. What
yeah.
happened to
We
that?
gotta get that guy back
Yeah, I
before he
don't.
goes broke.
Yeah, I don't think he's
maybe he was
playing
AI
again.
though, really, and maybe he's, got upgraded to a new algorithm of some sort.
But
Okay, do
yeah,
we one more question and then let's get him out of here. I have a
Okay,
day
Jeff.
job.
I feel like I've been the one asking all the questions, so I'm gonna let you step in here. Oh wait. We didn't even
we
get
didn't
to
talk
the
about
Ryder Cup.
golf. Yeah,
Evolve.
Let's talk about it quickly.
Let's
The
do,
Ryder
yeah.
Cup's been talked about ad nauseum at this point now.
So,
I'm like kind of over it. So
well,
personally,
no, but so GP reached out. Well, I don't remember if you reached out to me or
Yeah, I
I reached
probably
out to
did.
you,
I was like, hey,
but
is this
about the Ryder Cup.
idiotic?
And I didn't really model it.
Yeah.
I mean, I looked at the player strength and I ran it through some stuff, but like, but you were clear, you were very pro Team USA.
Yeah. So one thing I did for this Ryder Cup, which was kind of like was a fun project, was build a cup simulator. So like you want to simulate each um session, each match, each hole of each match, and whatever, simulate the whole cup, and then you get like odds US wins, odds Cam Young is top US rookie, odds, whatever, like all the markets, because it's a sim, so you can price everything.
Well,
So
but
I
you have
wanted
to sim then who's paired together.
exactly.
Like, I feel like that's the hardest part.
That's absolutely the hardest part. And I think I had a tweet where I was like, I was kind of getting the thing that like I care the most about as far as like seeing if it was good was like how many matches players played, predicting. And I actually did like a good job there. I just was wrong on the US like really hard. But in the beginning, I was like getting too big of a did like the worst players were like getting spit out at like 2.5, 2.4 matches. And it's the one thing I didn't realize. Like I had made all these selection rules, like were you a veteran? What was your player skill? Did you play in the morning? Like, there's some turnover usually between the morning and the afternoon. So, but the one thing I didn't include was like how like the captains just want to like pick people to play once a day at a minimum, just because it's like they came there, they're part of the event, and like how rare it is for people to play sub 3. It's not impossible because Højgaard
There's
played
generally like one
2
guy, right?
and Griffin played 2, right? So, but it's very, very rare. So I had like to basically place another rule where it's like the captain really wants to pick 3, or the captain really wants a player to play 3. It doesn't mean they always play 3. And like I was getting some like 2 sub 3 guys, but yeah, this whole selection process was the whole sim, because you can sim a match pretty easily, right, Rufus? It's like you're just, especially if you're simming
You take their whole
best
score.
ball,
Yeah.
exactly.
You take the
Right.
best score between the two guys,
Right.
compare it to the best score from the other two guys. Yeah.
Right. And then you just do that a lot. But like the selection was way harder, I think. But it was interesting. Anyway,
Well,
so
I remember you saying that and tell me if I shouldn't give away this position you're on, but you loved, I believe it was Henley over Hatton.
yeah. Yeah.
Because you were like, Henley's going
gonna-
to be paired with Scheffler, you were pretty sure.
Yep.
And you were right about that. It's just that Scheffler didn't win any matches.
That's right. I kept saying, I was like, look, this is on Chris. I hit it like so many times on Chris. Like, and I was like, yeah, this is just like this is a slam dunk. Because I did force, I was like, okay, I'm going to force like, and the funny thing was I forced Hatton to play with Rahm in 4 balls. Like but Scheffler's just so good that like forcing Henley to play with Scotty in four ball, or sorry, in foursomes was just like too overpowering. But Scotty turned out to be maybe worse than Hatton himself, let alone Rahm. So that was, but yeah, that was like those were fun things to price, like the player most points matchup and whatnot. I think that's why, who knows, like I'll dust it off for the President's Cup. It's just a few logic changes, right? To redo the format a little bit and keep betting it. But I felt like it did a good job in the sub markets, but the big whiff was basically like home field for the US.
What did you learn there? I mean, do you think is there, I mean, we talked about this last week on the podcast, but it is sort of a small data exercise.
Yes.
And
very small.
I feel like those are the things where you can learn the most typically.
So I can tell you my read, because there's like 2 small data issues. One was like Europe's really good at Ryder Cups, right? Like they just outperform their baseline, regardless of if you think there's a home field or not. And then the second is there's a home field advantage. And I think Matt talked about this. Like it's very clear with like even the most basic analysis of post Ryder Cup that like both those things, and Matt said like we're veering on statistical significance, which I agree with. But in my brain, I was like, well, I have to decide, like, do I think either are true, both are true? Like, obviously it's leaning towards like these are both true. And I was like, well, why would Europe just be better? Like, why, when they like tee up a ball and then they have their like friend from Ireland next to them, do they just hit the ball better? Like, that doesn't seem to make sense to me. So I was like, Europe's probably running hot. I still dampened the home field because it basically was a proxy for like Europe. Like, the more I dampen home field in this Ryder Cup, the stronger Europe is. But like the home field, I was like, that makes sense. People are screaming at you. You hit a bad shot, everyone's cheering. Like, it just feels like a debilitating environment to play golf in. So I basically decided home field matters and Europe doesn't. And I was not correct. Or
Well, you might have been correct.
Yeah.
We
don't know.
We don't know.
I'm hanging on to the putting discrepancies, Rufus.
Yeah, no, it's big.
But yeah, I mean, when you said, I know you said you'd reprice it -110, -120, and I
have no
messaged
idea
you,
if that's right or not.
but I said, damn, I would be back losing all my money again at that price. Like, but yeah, so basically, what I think now, and I think we chatted about this, was like, Europe they do. I mean, you saw the decisions that they made. Like, I had Luke's decisions over Keegan's. Like, I had Keegan like punting like 2% in cup win probability on his like overall decisions, just straight up. And I think exactly what you guys talked about in that episode was exactly why. And yeah, I mean, that matters. And then the Euros, I mean, I don't know. They do seem to just there is like
vibes, baby.
Yeah, there's like some pixie dust there. I've decided, but I do think home field does still matter. And I guess like it's going to be really hard for me not to be on Europe at the next one. I mean, I don't know.
Depends on what the price is going to be.
Yeah,
right?
that's true. It could just get way out of whack. I don't know. Do you think you'll start betting the Cubs more or no?
I mean, I did some betting on Kalshi and I did some individual match betting like for the Sunday singles, but
yeah,
my positions were relatively minor relative to like a normal event. So
lucky you.
it was fun. It was fun. We'll see.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, I it was fun. And it was a time when, just like we were talking about, where you get to use some creativity.
Yeah.
Despite the loss, like, I think it was exactly why I got into betting, was to build something like that and bet it.
That's an awesome note to end on. So appreciate you joining us. Good luck in your endeavors. Where can people find your work?
Yeah. I mean, I'm on Twitter, or you can check out the podcast, Risk Takers Podcast. We do it every week. So it's on all the platforms, but Twitter's Golden Pants 013 on Twitter.
All right. Thank you.
And I highly recommend the podcast. I thought the shipper episode, the ant episode, those are the I mean, I just discovered it recently. So those are the only two I've listened to, but I've enjoyed them both. Yeah.
We've had, I mean, you guys know, it's like you get good guests and it can be really good. So
we only get good guests.
Sure.
So yeah. Well,
okay. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. I really appreciate coming on. This is unironically, like, it is an honor to come on, because I listened to this podcast when I sucked at betting, and now it's my full-time job. And there's a lot of it was because of this pod. So thank you.
Bet the process.